Rebels at 11. I understand why that is the way it is, but this is a made-for-TV type of activity, I'm starting to believe. And frankly, I would take Mississippi over just about the other 10 schools in that ranking ahead of them at this moment in time. But, they lost 2 games. Now, they lost those 2 games, QB, on the last play of each game. Let's keep that in mind. And they could easily be undefeated right now, and likely should be. But having said that, they too are right in the fix. The other spot that I didn't like to see as an Alabama graduate is that right now they are the closest team to Texas as the top 2 ranked SEC teams, which would mean if things played out and everybody finished unbeaten as they go through the last few weeks of the season, Texas and Alabama would likely play in the SEC championship game, which I'm also not hopeful for, because I don't want Alabama to play in the SEC championship game, because that could risk them losing 3 games and then thus kick them out of the football playoff. So that's how I'm feeling this morning. I hope everybody else is doing well. I know we have a big game this weekend against LSU, and that's a rivalry. That's a rivalry game. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that everything they do tradition-wise and pregame-wise, it is so fun. And they have a hell of a good time, except they didn't last Saturday night. After they scored a touchdown. Hopefully, we won't be hearing a lot of that now, QB. Is the Florida going to be able to stop these guys? I mean, Alabama did, so we'll see.
Yeah. So I didn't get to see any of the college football rankings show, but
yeah, it was last night.
I did see it. A lot of people are raising hell because like the top 4 teams have not beaten anybody that's ranked or something along those lines. So a lot of stuff will play out, right? The championship games, and as you mentioned, Ole Miss sitting at, I think you said 11. That's fine.
That's fine.
They just need to make it, JC. They're not going to Atlanta, and they're not going to host. So they just need to get in the dance, and then they can cause havoc, in my opinion.
Oh, well, QB, you're right. And I wouldn't count them out of hosting yet. Remember, the 5, 6, 7, and 8 teams get to host. So they're not far from that. And there could be teams that lose going forward that are ahead of them easily. So the way they're playing right now, who the hell would want to deal with them? And I think defensively, we've never seen them play this well in their school's history ever. So I think this is a team that is so dangerous and will get so much more attention now because of what they did to Georgia, who has real issues and who will be challenged by Tennessee, although it is now known that Iamaleava, the Tennessee quarterback, this may be good or bad, but he's dealing with concussion symptoms. So if Tennessee has to play a backup in Athens, good luck. And they will be held into the game because defense travels, right? We know that defense travels, and Tennessee's strength, like Ole Miss, is on the defensive side of football. So that could still be a good game, whether Nico plays or not. But right now, Tennessee has only 1 conference loss, and I don't know why they're not ranked ahead of Alabama, but for some reason they're not. So maybe is that right? Is that right or wrong? Do they have 1 or 2 conference losses, QB? They've got 1. They lost to Arkansas.
Tennessee is 8. Tennessee's record is 8-1.
Okay, so they lost to Arkansas, and I don't know. Explain to me how in the hell is, and maybe I'm wrong about this. Okay, I am wrong about this. Tennessee is ranked 7th, so excuse me for that. So Tennessee could then play Texas in the SEC championship game if they win out and Texas wins out. But if they lose to Georgia, that puts Alabama right there, assuming Alabama finishes out the next 3 games. So I don't know. There's a lot to still happen, but Tennessee has an opportunity, but the quarterback's got concussion symptoms. So we'll see how that works out.
Which could be a good thing for Tennessee, quite honestly.
Yeah, you're right. It could be. And defensively, they do lock you up. I mean, they're very good on the defensive side of football. So this could be a real entertaining game at Georgia under the lights. This is it for Georgia. I think they're hanging by a thread. Right now, they are not in the college football playoff. They are 12th, but that gets bumped out because of the group of 5 champion. So Georgia right now has got to play their way in. And that would help them if they beat Tennessee.
But JC, think about Georgia. Yeah, we all sit here and talk about how they're struggling.
Yeah.
They beat Texas. They demolished Texas at Texas.
True.
They lost in a shootout on like the last play or whatever at Alabama.
Right.
And then they lost at Ole Miss. So they really don't have a bad loss when you think about it.
I don't disagree with that, and I think you're right. But man, I mean, they're 12th, and you have to bump them to 13 when you put in the group of 5
right.
champions.
But I think if they win out, which they have, Tennessee left, Georgia Tech, and I don't know who else.
Mm-hmm.
I think Georgia will get in the 12th.
Well, beating Tennessee does help because Tennessee's ranked 7th. So yes, that would definitely move them back into the picture. So they're still playing for something, even with the 2 losses. Absolutely.
Shelvin says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Shane, yesterday on Inside the Huddle, the response coach gave to the email regarding if he ever got a letter of support from his AD during his time at UF, and your expression, that was priceless. Somebody asked him about that. I don't know. I don't even know what I did, but I'm like, the whole letter of whatever cracks me up. In the meantime, Tony says there was great basketball last night. I didn't get to see any of it, but obviously they had that Champions tournament where Kentucky beat Duke and Kansas beat Michigan State. I don't know if you saw any of that, JC. Did you?
I saw Kentucky come back from about a 9 or 10 point deficit. They were trailing most of the game against Duke, and Duke has this player who's really, really hot. And Kentucky came back and won the game. So that gives them hope because football is over for Kentucky fans. And
Kentucky's going to be good, man. Mark Pope's a very good coach.
Yeah, and he's a Kentucky guy, right? I mean, so they're very happy right now, and that's what they wanted. Cal is at Arkansas, and he's gone. So you're right. I mean, Kentucky could be another. I mean, would it surprise anybody that Kentucky's a good basketball team? I don't.
All right, let's get to some text on the Titan Mark text line. It's from Josh in Mississippi. He says, QB Mark Long stated that the reason Scott Strickland's letter was so vague about Napier was that they didn't want to say 2025 and then make it seem like he's going to be there in 2026, which would negatively affect recruiting. Yeah. I mean, the whole recruiting thing, I don't know how any of it affects recruiting, quite honestly, right now. That's just my 2 cents. I mean, we're 50-something in recruiting. You'd say your coach is going to be here the following year. Did that jump us to number 20? I don't know. I don't follow it.
I don't either. There will be a lot of guys at this LSU game, though. That's all I can tell you. So let's pray that these guys show up and play hard and play well. And, there's going to be a lot of guys, a lot of recruits at this. I'm sure Graham Hall could tell you all about it. But I've read that there are going to be a load of potential Gators at this game Saturday afternoon.
Well, the reason why?
It's because it's Saturday afternoon.
It's Saturday afternoon, and there are no really other good games in America other than Georgia, Tennessee in the league.
Well, there is not in the league. You're right. Not in the SEC, but in the Big Ten, there's a huge game. So,
well, most of these guys are not going to go to Big Ten schools unless it's Ohio State for the most part. So that's why it's a great weekend because it's LSU coming to town.
Yeah.
It's two big brands playing, and there really aren't a bunch of other games around. So this is a text here on the Titan Mar text line. So Shane, in your opinion, what does LSU have to do for us to win the game? Turn it over at least 3 times. I mean, that's how we beat Kentucky, and that's how we were in the game in Georgia. I mean, people laugh at me, but it's a fact.
I know it is. Yes, that will help. There's no question about it. I mean, you got to get off the field.
Here's the thing. Buddy and I got into it yesterday. Yesterday on the program. Because he does not think Brian Kelly's a good coach, and they wasted $10 million a year on him, which
really?
Maybe that's the case. But here's the bottom line.
Okay.
Brian Kelly's 26-10, right? Would you take 26-10 right now?
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? What kind of question is that? What kind of question is that?
That basically averages out to 9-3 every year, right? We will take that every freaking year.
Well, I think Buddy's stuck. Buddy is stuck, and God bless the man. He's a wonderful person, great journalist. But I mean, he's still stuck in 95, 96, dude. I mean, these guys cannot get over the 90s. They've got to forget about it. Or 2006, 7, and 8, right? So I mean,
the league has changed. The league has changed because
football has changed.
But listen, JC, think about the SEC from 1990 to probably 2008, when you had South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, I mean, I probably can go on. Those you guaranteed you put a W by in the win column, right? That ain't the case anymore. The game has changed.
Yes,
Errol says
right.
He says he's not an LSU fan, but his cat is named Mike the Tiger.
When was the last time you could talk about football and bring in schools like Colorado and Indiana into conference championship discussions? There's never been a time like that, QB. And then you've got a school like Tulane. Tulane was an offensive pass interference call away from being undefeated right now and leading it. They would likely be ahead of Boise State in the group of 5 because they are awesome. They're the best team in Louisiana. So here, let me get Tulane going. So the Wave, right? So what could you talk about that? Football. You could.
No, but what are you wearing?
I got me a Green Wave hat on right now.
I'm talking about that sweatshirt. What is that sweatshirt?
This is the proud minor league hockey team in Allen, Texas, the Allen Americans. The Americans. Because, listen, in the last week, we've reclaimed America. So I'm going with the Allen.
I love that.
Americans, baby. And they play. Let me tell you, these minor league hockey games, if you ever have a chance to go, you won't have to mortgage your house to afford it. You will enjoy just as many adult beverages as you would at an NHL game. And you will see guys literally playing out of their minds because they want to move up the ladder to the
they're Americans.
Because they're Americans and they play hard. I mean, they hit.
How many Russians did they have on their team?
There weren't a whole lot of them, but these were minor leaguers. Remember, Russians usually go straight to the NHL if they leave Russia to come here. But these kids played out of their minds. They play in an 8,000 seat arena. It is fun as hell. It's loud. You got dancers everywhere. You got fans everywhere, and the fans get into it because it's just so non-stressful. And I think these players really, really sell out when they play. I mean, they play with their hearts, and it's fun to watch. So I'm wearing me an American Allen Americans shirt because
I like that.
We reclaimed America, QB, a week ago.
That's right. Electronics World Integration and Design Specialist, Smart Home Automation and Entertainment, affordable local installation, service, and support. Check them out, electronicsworld.net. We got JC right now. We'll have Chris Doering from the SEC Network here momentarily. I was looking here on Facebook Live. Lanny says, don't forget, all those players are getting close to $5,000 on their visit Saturday. Would you come watch LSU-Florida, JC, for $5,000?
I would go. I mean, yes.
You would help clean the stadium.
I would. I would get my broom out and do whatever they needed me to do for an hour because that's pretty dang good. And so, congratulations, kids. You can pay off a credit card. I think it's great.
Okay. Let's get to some of the Wolf Gator here on YouTube says, also for all the people that the Grove Collective has a strong NIL, which, going away here, hang on a second, which they do, but our roster costs more than Ole Miss's in NIL deals. Our NIL folks spent a lot to get this current roster.
I didn't know.
I don't know what they spent. He says we are going to have to overspend this year to keep current guys, and then transfer portal going to take some large bags of cheddar. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're going to have to outbid other schools.
That is the way of the world in many cases. I don't know how many folks Indiana or Colorado outbid to get their players, but I would say that a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of it has to do with chemistry. A lot of it has to do with things working and injuries and not killing your team. And this is all part of being successful in football. And there's no question that the NIL, which now means it's legal, NIL, means that we have a different world in football. And listen, 26-10, hell yeah. How about Mullen? He goes to the SEC championship game, takes them to 2 New Year's Six bowls. He's recruited 8th and 12th ranked recruiting classes, and he's fired. This guy, we already know what's happened. So I don't know, man. I don't know what the whole point of what that letter was, other than to try to calm people down and to just quit talking about it, which is what I think he really was trying to do, because he's got his minds on some other things too, I think, over there. So
yeah, Wolf Gator says on YouTube, brought to you by Qualifying. Fans need to accept that the UF job is not what it used to be and is not appealing to the more established coaches. Hearing that we were unable to land Kiffin behind the scenes, that's false.
That's false.
That's false. That is totally false.
Yeah. Well, listen,
that is very false.
I think Lane Kiffin has a job and is fully entrenched in what he's doing right now.
That's right, but that's true. He's doing his job to do what he can for Ole Miss, but
that's right.
But it doesn't matter. Supposedly Billy will be our coach next year. Somebody asked here about staff changes. I don't know. We talked about this yesterday. I gave you my 2 cents, and people think I'm crazy, but I try to be as real and honest.
What is
okay?
Crazy?
So JC. So here's what I said. They're saying that Billy's going to be forced to hire an offensive coordinator. So I basically asked our listeners, give me your list of elite offensive coordinators. Right? I don't even know who they are. But let's say you're an elite offensive coordinator, JC, at SMU, right?
Oh yeah.
You're a young and upcoming SMU OC. Do you roll the dice to go to the University of Florida for possibly 1 year, and if it doesn't work out, you get fired, and now you're back at Jacksonville State University getting a job? Or do you continue calling ball plays at SMU or wherever you are for another year or two, and then your name is up for a head coaching job? And hang on, I'm gonna let you respond. And JC is going to want to bring his O-line coach, his wide receiver coach, and his running back coach to help with his philosophy, his schemes, and calling ball plays.
Right. And if you're that OC at SMU and Rhett Lashley goes to somewhere, then maybe
I just use right. But again, let's just take SMU. Let's just say they're freaking 5-5.
Okay.
I just threw SMU out. I'm just saying football coach X at school X.
Yes.
If you're the hot commodity, do you continue staying with job security as the hot commodity at that school, or do you roll the dice, go somewhere where you may make more money, like a 2-year deal, but if you're fired, now you're stuck.
No.
Hey, where am I going to get a job now?
No, first choice.
I don't think people think it's as easy as possible.
Oh no, and you're right. That I would. The answer to that is the first choice: stay, and it won't be an established OC that comes to a place where the coach could be removed at any point. It would have to be somebody we don't know about. It's not going to be Cade Bell. Okay, it's just not. So I don't know what the answer is, but a lot of people have said that he was nuts for not bringing in an OC last.
Okay,
summer.
well that's there's nothing you can do about last
nothing
year.
You can do
about moving forward.
I agree.
But the fan base. But where I'm trying to go with this is,
yes,
they act like it's like you can just pick up the phone and call OC whoever. Hey, come to the University of Florida. We'll give you this amount of money. Okay, well, let me think about it, because here's what I need. I need to bring my offensive line coach.
I agree.
Need to bring my wide receiver coach. I need to bring my running back coach.
You're 100% right about
now,
that. Yes.
And then, do all those coaches want to leave the school they're at?
No.
With so much uncertainty. So anyway, we're beating a dead horse.
No, well, we are, but we're explaining it. And that's what you're doing. Here's what I would do. I would hire Johnny Nichols, the coach at Tallahassee Christian, whatever high school it is, and I'd bring him over here. You could get him for a song and a cup of coffee and watch this guy show people how to run offense. Okay, nobody knows what I'm talking about except you and him and me and probably a few others. But that's the kind of person I want, because I know he understands offense. And I know that he would get the ball in the end zone. I don't really care how it does or how it happens, QB, but you have to get the ball in the end zone. And that's all I care about. I don't want to kick field goals when I'm down by 3 touchdowns on the road against a team that is so far superior to me. I don't want to do that. I'd rather run a play to see if I could actually do something with that play than see if my kicker can make a 26-yard field goal. It just comes down to bad judgment and bad ideas. And that's what we're watching right now. And I'm afraid we're going to watch Saturday, the week after that, and hopefully not the week after that. Although the week after that, when they do play FSU, there might be all of about 15,000 people at the game. So all I can say is I don't need any more silly decisions. I need somebody who knows offense that can come in here and actually and actually get the ball in the end zone. And I know that name I just mentioned. Very few people know, and I know.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy I would want, because that I know would work because he knows what he's doing. And I'm just not sure Billy knows anybody who knows what the hell they're doing right now. Maybe he does. I don't know. The record speaks for itself. I don't have to.
Wolf Gator says if the job was so appealing, then we would not be playing with our food, whatever that means, and hiring these up-and-comers, unqualified head coach like Muschamp, McElwain, Napier. That's what Florida – if you look at Florida's track record in every sport, they hire up-and-comers. They do.
Well,
in fact, we have never in any sport – think about this, JC.
Okay.
In any sport has Florida ever hired an established, well-known coach? Never.
Well, the only exception to that, and I do agree with you there, that is true. But the only exception to that would be the guy who won championship at Duke. And when he did that,
but JC, he was not a well-known guy. I mean, he won the ACC champion. He was a well-known guy with Gator fans because he played quarterback there. But he was not an established, winning coach. He wasn't
he won the ACC at Duke, QB.
I understand that, but again, people forget the administration did not want him. He was hired by boosters.
Well, okay, sure. And the president.
But what I'm trying to say is, I think what people are saying is, whether it's Brian Kelly, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, big name guys, Florida's never hired anybody like that at any sport at the school ever.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Doug Dickey was one. Mark says here, Doug Dickey was well known because he was at Tennessee.
Yeah,
but if you go back and you look at the history, so anyway, look, we're beating a dead horse here because there are coaches that would love to coach the University of Florida. Just a lot of things would have to change.
Well, the first thing that would have to change is the obvious thing, and so until that happens, what's the point, right? I mean, this guy is committed. He is committed to his choice. This was his hire and his choice. It was also this interim president's choice. The two of them collaborated and decided that this guy, whatever, out of Louisiana, is the guy to bring Florida to the promised land. I couldn't think of how far we are from the promised land right now in history. We are so bad. It is so far removed from the promised land that it could change quickly because listen, this team was 3-10 last year, 3-10. They got it together in 1 year because they made the right hire. That's the difference. Yeah. And I know Florida, they thought that was Billy, but it wasn't. So,
Norm Sloan. Norm Sloan had won at NC State. I was wrong. Urban was not. Urban was an up and comer. Urban was up and comer.
He won at Utah and Bowling Green. Nobody cared about Urban Meyer except Bernie Matchin. And Bernie Matchin loved Urban Meyer because he was the president at Utah. And Bernie Matchin wanted Steve Spurrier's resume to come back. Okay, those are all true stories. So,
real quick before we're going to get to Doering here, but
okay, sure.
Rodney's question is, if a good OC won't come here, why keep Billy? Look, we may get a good OC. I'm just giving you a scenario of how coaches think and how the coaching profession works.
Yeah, he wants security.
I mean,
of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which you're going to have to give them a 2 or 3 year deal.
It's a small business, QB. It's a very small business. So, yes.
So, right. Buck says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Billy needs an OC just so everyone else will bitch about the OC instead of him for a while. That's so true.
Well, it's hard not to bitch when you're looking at what you're looking and paying for what you're paying, QB. That's just a fact. I mean, you know this. But listen, Saturday is a new day. It's going to be a beautiful day. Weather-wise, it's going to be absolutely spectacular. I encourage everybody to just put away your problems and troubles. We've taken back America and have a damn good time on Saturday at the ballpark, as you call it, and hope that these kids that come in that were paid $5,000 to show up are actually impressed by what they see. They're going to need an environment. I know it's tough to keep getting up when you keep getting knocked down, but try it because this is Louisiana State, and that's not one of our favorite schools. They don't like you, and hopefully you will show them that you don't like them, folks, because they have dominated Florida in the last 4 or 5 years. It's time to turn the page and see if Lagway can get out there on the field, run around, and have a damn good time. Have a good time. That's what I'm hoping we see on Saturday. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going. So there you go.
You're going?
Hell yeah, I got invited. I've been invited to get. See, I'm an invitation-only fan, QB. But when I get invited,
that means that basically means you're too cheap to buy tickets.
People have not called me cheap lately, but I'll take that if you want. That's fine.
All right, this text on the Titan Mark text line says LSU was an average program until Saban. I don't know about that.
Well, LSU in the 90s got awful. They were god awful in the 90s.
They weren't good in there, but they've been a very good program for many, many years. They didn't fall. Right, he says they didn't fall behind because of facilities, recruiting, coaches, leadership.
Right. Well, they were awful in the 90s. They were absolutely pathetic, and They listen.
Okay,
LSU,
I'm corrected here. Charlie Pell won a national championship at Clemson.
QB, why did you make that pronouncement? Now you're getting all these messages.
I don't care. Do you think I care, Jason?
No. Charlie Pell did not win a freaking.
He did not win a national championship.
No, he did not. It was called Danny.
That was
Ford.
Danny Ford.
Yes, and it was Danny Ford that won the Natty in Clemson, and then Charlie Pell showed up and did well there. Give him hell, Pell showed up here, and we all know the rest of the story. But no, it was Danny Ford that won that championship.
Yeah, it was Danny Ford.
Correct.
I think it was in 1980, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a long, long damn time ago.
Yeah. All right, JC.
But yeah, good conversation.
We were supposed to do it real quick. What's the Thursday night NFL game? Let's do a Peachland dental pick. Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. What's the game?
Okay. The game on Amazon, of course, is Washington at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is laying 3.5. I love Jaden Daniels. He's so far ahead of everybody in his rookie class at quarterback. I'm taking Jaden Daniels with the 3.5 points at Philadelphia, who has won something like 4 or 5 straight games. This is for that division. I mean, that division is a 2-team race right now.
Right.
The Giants are out. So
you're taking the Redskins. I'll take the Eagles since they're at home.
3.5 points you're giving me right now.
Yep. All right, JC. Okay. Have a great week. Go buy a new hat.
See you Friday.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by the SEC Network's Chris Doering. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. The Gridiron sponsors are Florida Cracker Kitchen, Comfort Temp, Peachland Dental, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Cogent Bank, UF Bookstores, Florida Victorious, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Electronics Swirl, Miapa Latin Cafe, 84 Lumber, Baker Sporting Goods, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, and Gator Bait Media. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever you're on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor and advertise, call our man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
After serving over 100 families over the past several years, we're super excited to kick off the holiday season. I'm Dylan. I'm Garrett. And we're Sunshine Holiday Lights. We all know how stressful it can be to decorate your home during the holidays. Our services include installation of all material, maintenance, takedown, and storage of the material throughout the year. If you want to spend more time with your family this year, give Sunshine Holiday Lights a call.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. We're going to go back to the Tight Number Hotline. We're joined by some special guests. We're waiting on Chris Doering from the SEC Network, but we have Chris Masters from Man Cave Health and J.W. Cannon from Prostate Cancer Foundation. They're going to be setting up a tent at FanFest for the LSU-Florida game. Free testing on prostate cancer. Chris, you want to kick it off and let everybody know where the tent, what time, all that good stuff?
Well, we do have our third part of this interview. We got Chris Doering with us, and I'll let Chris kind of jump in and kind of kick off to how this whole thing got started, and then I can jump into the details, and of course JW as well.
For sure, man. I appreciate you having us, Shane. We're excited to have an opportunity to continue to grow the presence of Man Cave Health, their partnership with what we've been doing with the Steve Spurrier First Year Coach of the Year, the Legend Award, sponsored that last year and back on board this year. We had Bob Stoops last year. And you look at all the big names that we've had an opportunity to have in the past, it's kind of made Gainesville the epicenter of the college football universe, but we'll talk more about that later on. I'm gonna sound stupid real quick, and I've done that before, but this is in a different way. The tailgate and testing event that we'll have going on outside of Exactech Arena, I believe starting at 12:30 on Saturday, is an opportunity to expose not only men to have the opportunity to get tested, but just more knowledge about prostate cancer, those that are at risk. The idea of getting tested at a tailgate sounded terrible to me. I've had people say, man, they're going to do that at a tailgate. It's actually a blood test that they're doing here. So it's not the invasive test you probably heard about. That's part of the education that I think that people need to know about. Men are scared to go to the doctor to have these tests done just because of all the stuff they've heard about it. But it's so much easier to be tested now, and something that, once you get to be 45 or above, or if you're at risk, that you need to take seriously.
Yeah, Chris, you want to let us know like what time fans can come by and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I was just going to back up real quick and just echo with kind of, what CD was talking about. Man Cave Health was born out of our founder at 48. Due to early detection, his life was saved, but was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he turned his efforts and attention towards getting him tested. I think CD hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of education that still needs to be done. We do these simple blood tests at these tailgates. It's the tailgate and testing. This will be our third event. And we're joined today with J.W. Cannon from Prostate Cancer Foundation. They've partnered with us. This will be their second one with us. And boy, 2025 set up to be quite the slate of testing events. It literally takes probably somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes to get tested. And it could save someone's life. And so, J.W., I don't know if you want to add just a little bit of color there.
Yeah, I mean, early detection is so key with prostate cancer. I mean, the facts are, 1 in 8 men are going to get it. So, there's a very high likelihood, and this test is one of the ways that we can catch that early detection and hopefully treat it. And chances are really, really good for survival if you do catch it very early on. So these tests are really key. And Chris hit on a really important point, right? That there's often a stigma that's attached to prostate cancer testing because it's associated with sexual health, right? But it's not an invasive test. It is a blood test. It's very simple, takes no time at all. So the breaking down those stigmas are a big part of why we do these events and do them in such a light and airy atmosphere where people care. And the other thing I will tell you too is that while 1 in 8 men are going to get prostate cancer, there's an even higher likelihood that Black men are going to get it. So it's even more important for African American men to get tested early on, because the chances are much higher for them to get it, and we want to make sure that we catch it and they survive from it.
Yeah.
So we're going to kick off at 12:30 on Saturday, but we'll be open probably even a little bit before that. So folks are going to be excited about of course, the big rivalry game against LSU. So they're going to be there early and often. So we'll be set up, ready to start testing probably even before 12:30 when the Fan Fest actually opens.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome day. And obviously there'll be some Gator athletes there. Y'all will be giving away a little bit of swag as well. So it's free, folks. If you're there, there's always tons of people in that Fan Fest area. Go by, get a free test, and check these folks out. They're doing good work. And yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it as well. Appreciate y'all coming on. I'm going to talk to Doering. We got a bunch of questions for Doering. We'll let him address, again, the location, the time, and all that at the end. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we let you go?
No, I think I just want to say real quickly, in addition to the blood test, we talked about the swag. So we got custom swag. We're going to have a man cave, a mini man cave set up on the property. And this really is about creating a better experience for men. And we're just fortunate to have partners like GSP, like Chris Doering, and of course his mortgage company, JAG Agency, UF Health, and PCF. We've just been doing these all over the country. Excited to be bringing testing down to Gainesville on Saturday.
Perfect. Appreciate it, guys. And y'all are welcome to stay. We're going to talk a little ball with Chris because people want to hear his thoughts on the Gators. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Saturday, and we'll make sure we get all the information out to the Gator Nation.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Shane. Look forward to it.
Yes, sir. All right, Doering, real quick, give me your thoughts on what you saw on the 12-team playoff last night. Anything surprise you?
Not necessarily, man. I'm so excited to think about what's going to happen over the last couple of weeks of the season. I said this on our show the other day. I honestly believe there's going to be 6 or 7 teams that finish at 10-2 in the SEC this year. And there's going to be some really good teams that get left out of the SEC from the college football playoff. It's quite the contrary to what everybody thought. When we talked about expanding the playoffs, people were worried about devaluing the regular season ball games. I think we've had meaningful ball games for over a month now. It's just been kind of de facto playoff after de facto playoff. Last week, the win by Ole Miss basically, put Georgia on thin ice as they play Tennessee this week. LSU eliminated from the playoff contention after Alabama went to Baton Rouge and stomped them. So I think it's been the most fun college football playoff season that I can remember, Shane. I think the biggest thing as SEC fans we got to hope for is that the ACC continues to beat up on themselves, that the Big 12 does as well, because I do think it's an opportunity for the conference to flex on everybody else, as usually is the case in the postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be great. There's no question. So, like right now, Chris, sitting here today, what 2 teams do you think play in Atlanta?
Yeah, I honestly believe, I think Texas is going to lose in the last game of the season to Texas A&M. I think that Tennessee loses this week up in Athens and makes it even more clouded. Texas A&M, they finished 10-2. One of their losses came to Notre Dame outside of the conference slate. So, I think Texas A&M is a team that's probably going to end up being there. And then, I don't know how the tiebreakers work. I don't know if anybody does, but with Georgia going to beat Tennessee, in my opinion, and Tennessee having beaten Alabama, and it's going to be nasty to figure out. But I honestly think, Shane, you look around, some of those teams that don't get into the SEC championship game, I think are going to benefit more. And I'm interested to see what happens with the playoff committee, how they're going to look at the team that goes to the SEC championship and loses. If you have a 3-loss team that played in the SEC title game, I can't imagine them being left out. But I think without a real precedent from this in the past, it's going to be scary for that team. So I think Ole Miss is one that probably doesn't want to be in Atlanta. I think that there's a number of other teams that probably feel the same way. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out the next couple weeks. And Shane, I don't remember the last time, this late in the season, we haven't, had a picture of who's going to be in Atlanta, who's going to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy. Obviously, the playoff field is pretty cloudy. It's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it really is. And you talk about the parity in college football is just crazy right now, in my opinion. And you look at our league, I personally think the last 2 weeks, Ole Miss is the best team in the league, the way they've played. You look at South Carolina. I mean, I just said it. South Carolina's playing as well as anybody in the league. Do you think that's due to NIL and the transfer portal, that all these teams are, I don't want to say equal, but, everybody talks about, when Florida played Georgia, Florida is getting closer to Georgia. I think everybody in the SEC is closer to Georgia and Alabama now.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I don't know that it's necessarily because of the improvement of some of the other teams as much as it's been the regression of Alabama and Georgia. You look at that game on Saturday against Ole Miss, it was Ole Miss that was the more physical team. It was Ole Miss that was the faster team. It was the Ole Miss Rebels that were the aggressors. You don't see that much with Georgia. And I think they got a lot of issues as it relates to the secondary. They don't have the talent they've had in the secondary. They don't have the pass rush to be able to compensate for the issues in the secondary. They certainly don't have the receivers without McConkey and Brock Bowers at the tight end position. Carson Beck doesn't have anybody to really feel comfortable going to. When they do get open, they drop the ball. It's surprising to see them with the most drops in the country this deep in the season. The offensive line is not a typical Georgia offensive line. They ran for 1.8 yards per carry on Saturday against Ole Miss's defense and gave up 5 sacks, all of which came on standard pass rush, meaning 4 or less that Ole Miss brought. So they're able to get pressure and play coverage, which is difficult. And this more than anybody, having played the position. Without those pieces around Carson Beck, I think he's trying to do too much. Certainly he's got to protect the football more, but I almost don't blame him for some of the things that he's trying to do to make plays without having the supporting cast that he did last year.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. A few more minutes here with Chris Doering from the SEC Network. All right, Chris, let's switch gears before we let you go here. Gators play LSU. I think LSU's won 5 in a row. Two-part question here. What do the Gators need to do to beat LSU? LSU is kind of out of the mix now, but I still think they're really good on offense. I like Garrett Nussmeier. I think the O-line struggled a little bit. Second part of the question is, do you and Peter Burns have a silly bet again this year?
Yeah, we got a silly bet that we're going to unveil on Friday on SEC This Morning. So we'll have that out there. I've lost 6 straight bets to PB as it relates to the 5-game football losing streak that you mentioned and the College World Series finals that we lost a couple seasons ago. Hoping to break the streak. And you asked me the keys. Like, obviously, DJ Lagway's got to be healthy. This is a perfect game for DJ Lagway to play in. You look at LSU's defense. They go out and get Blake Baker from last year at Missouri. And early in the season, you thought that they were going to be better, but they're 16th in the conference in rushing defense and really have a trouble with mobile quarterbacks dating back to the Lenora Sellers, to Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, and then last week where Jalen Milroe puts up 185 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. If DJ Lagway can play, he gives you that sort of running dynamic that LSU has struggled with. But even if he doesn't play, I think Florida can have success running the football. I've been impressed with the way that the offensive line has improved in the run game, and we know there's a talented group of running backs in that room as well. Defensively, obviously playing with a short hand against Texas, but I'm with you. I like Garrett Nussmeier an awful lot. I think one of the other big surprises of the year has been how bad LSU's offensive line has been. They were thought to be one of the best units, not only in the conference heading into the season, but in the country. At one point in time, Garrett gets hit in late second quarter by a linebacker blitzing right up the middle, and the offensive line turns left to block one guy, the running back free releases and lets the linebacker hit him. Now, again, like Carson Beck, he's got to protect the football more, but I've really been surprised at how poor the offensive line is and how unable to run the football they've been with that offensive line this season.
Real quick, a text here on the Titan MR text line. This is from William. He wants to know, Chris, your thoughts on the letter that Scott Strickland sent out about Billy Napier coming back next year.
Does any of that really matter at this point? I mean, there's so much going on over there right now. Who knows what the future is going to be? in football, in the athletic department in general. I mean, it didn't exactly have a timeline on there either for how long they were committed to Coach Napier. And, it's a statement of support. I think the most important thing for Florida is trying to keep the nucleus, the young core of players intact. And, if Billy Napier is able to do that, that's great. If they do decide to keep him, I think you're going to see some big changes on the coaching staff on both sides of the ball. And I think kind of upgrading that staff and finding a way to support Coach Napier has got to be the biggest goal of the offseason, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you brought the coaching changes up, which we've all heard that. And I've kind of, the last 2 weeks or last 2 days or so, I just don't know what coach will come here worried about being gone in a year if things don't work out. If they're having success wherever they are, whether it's an offensive coordinator or whatever, and I've said it, usually offensive coordinators want to bring their entire staff, their O-line coach, their receiver coach, their running back coach to teach their system. Do you think that could be an issue, or am I crazy to think that?
No, you're not crazy at all. I mean, that's the dynamic that exists with coordinators, particularly on the offensive side. Those guys that are the young up and comers are looking for opportunity, not only to make more money, but to be able to run the show themselves. And I don't know how much Coach Napier is even interested in passing along the play calling duties. I know Russ Callaway's had a big part of what they're doing this year. I don't know exactly what the dynamic is, but is that something that Coach Napier would even be agreeable to? I don't know that he's going to have a lot to say about that, but I think on defense, one of the biggest issues was like you bring in Ron Roberts, and I don't think there was ever any real clarity on the hierarchy on the defensive side. And so I think it's like you said, if you're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator, one, is there a guarantee that he's going to be around for a couple of years and his job is secure? Two, can you bring those guys in so you don't have all of the issues that appear to be there on the defensive side, where there's not a lot of communication taking place between coaches and continuity between what you're doing in the secondary versus what you're doing up front with the front seven?
Good stuff as always, my friend. One more time, Saturday at the Gator Fan Fest, Man Cave Health putting on the tailgate. The time again starts about 12:30, Chris?
12:30, yeah, 12:30. We're going up until kickoff. Tailgate testing at the Gate 2 of Exact Tech Arena there with the Gator Fan Fest stuff going on. You've been around these guys. They're great. They're great guys. They're great supporters of Florida football and what we're doing with the Steve Spurrier Coach of the Year Awards. And more so than anything, great guys and trying to educate some of us dumb males that are ignorant when it comes to prostate testing.
Yep. Chris, appreciate your time, my friend. I know you're busy, and we'll see you on TV this weekend.
Thanks, Shane. Talk to you, man.
That's Gator great Chris Doering from the SEC Network. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline. I want to thank him, Chris Masters from Man Cave Health, and J.W. Cannon from Prostate Cancer Foundation. Again, at FanFest, go by. It's all free, folks. 12:30 to 3:30 over there by the O'Connell Center. They'll have swag, TVs, everything right there if you want to get tested before the game. For sprains, strains, and minor fractures, UF Health Ortho Care makes it convenient for you. 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome. That's UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Appreciate everybody joining the program today. Tomorrow we'll have Brent Beard, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. And then we'll just talk a little high school football. First round of the playoffs in the state of Florida start this Friday. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.